Hello, students of my DIY Skills of the Past class. Today is our first video broadcast, and you're going to be learning how to make bean soup. Let's get started. In your packet this week, you received a card of the bean soup recipe. And when you pick up your lessons next week, you'll receive some of the ingredients so that you can make this soup. I'm going to show you how to do it so that you can make it at home. Years before people bought beans prepared in cans, they would have to make their beans out of dry beans. Beans that were picked from the field, dried, and then could stay preserved in a dried form for a long time. In our project this week, we'll be using pinto beans as our bean to make this soup. But you can use any other dried bean: kidney beans, garbanzo beans, white cannellini beans, navy beans. Well, this week we're going to use pinto beans for this project. Now, when you purchase pinto beans in a bag from the store, they're dirty. They're just barely field dressed. So the first thing we have to do is measure the bean quantity that we need. Our recipe says 2 cups of dry pinto beans. And so we're going to pour 2 cups of dry pinto beans in our container. Look at this mess I'm making. Don't do this at home. 1. And we're going to put this right away in a heavy saucepan. My saucepan is a big one. It's heavy and it has a lid. So this saucepan is a thick one and it's heavy. That's what you're going to need because your beans have to stay in this saucepan, and it's deep. See how deep it is? It's far. These beans are going to swell when they have water in them. Swell means that they're going to get bigger. So we're going to start with 2 cups of beans. Watch how much this is as it's dry. There goes my 1 cup. Here goes my 2nd cup. And look at the quantity in my, doesn't look like very much, but this amount is going to feed a family of 6. You will get a lot of meals from this recipe. You will get a lot of meals from this recipe. Don't get me wrong. Canned beans are cheap and provide good nutrition. But inside most cans is ingredients that you may not want. Excess salt, sugar, spices that you don't like, additives like coloring agents and firming agents. When you use the dried bean and create whatever recipe you want, you can flavor it. It gives you a lot more freedom. You can flavor it whatever you want. So now my beans are in the pan, and now let's go to the sink to wash them. I'm covering my beans with water to wash them. And I'm going to swish them around a little bit to dissolve anything that might be on my beans. They may look clean, but sometimes I have found dirt clods in my beans. I've even found stones in my beans. I'm going to wash them. And look, the water is a little cloudy. Boy, am I glad I washed them. Now I'm going to take my beans and I'm going to pour them in a colander to drain all the water. Okay, one last rinse. And we're almost ready. And now the recipe calls for 6 cups of water. I'm supposed to boil 6 cups of water. And so I've got my measuring cup ready and my saucepan is ready. So here I go. I'm going to make my boiled water. When my water is boiling, I'm going to pour in my beans. Next, I'm going to wait, and according to my recipe, I have to let the beans boil for 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and then turn off the heat, put the lid on the pot, and let the beans soak in that hot water for 8 hours. All right, let's wait for it to boil. I'm turning my temperature on high so that the water will get hot with the beans in it. My beans are finally boiling, so now, according to the recipe, I have to let them boil for 2 minutes. My beans are really boiling, and I've got about 45 seconds left. This is all part of the process. I'm counting down now. When I'm at 0, then I take the beans off the heat, or turn it off, remove the beans from the heat, and put the lid on. According to my recipe now, I let them soak in the hot water as they cool down for 8 to 12 hours. Let time do the work for you. This makes the beans taste really good. Well, we are back. It has been over 8 hours. As a matter of fact, it's been 12 hours. And our soups have adequately, our beans have adequately soaked, and they are all plump and ready to be cooked. So all of them, I'm going to stir them up and just make sure that everything was all hydrated. These beans that were once dry are now plumped up, and they look like canned beans, but they are not ready to eat. Matter of fact, they are still hard inside, and if you do eat them, you'll get a stomach ache. So we have to cook them again. We have to cook them some more. And this, at this time, is where you want to put the flavor in your soup. All we have here is water and beans. We haven't had salt. We haven't added salt. We haven't added anything. So we have a lot of options at this point. In your recipe, it called for adding green or bell pepper, onion, tomato. Optional, you could have a jalapeno. And that would be a really good idea. But let's say you don't have some of these ingredients. What are you going to do? Well, open up your fridge and see what you can find. In my refrigerator, I found some hot sauce. Well, what's in hot sauce? Tomatoes, onion, jalapenos, red bell pepper or green bell pepper. So I can actually use this in place of these ingredients. How easy is that? Or another option that you have is, I also found this in my fridge, is another type of sauce. This has onion and tomatillo and some spices. So I could use this in place of my vegetables here. Now, I know I would have to chop these up before I put them in my soup. So you can't just put them in whole. You have to chop them up. So you would chop up half of your onion, your bell pepper, and your tomato. I don't have big tomatoes, so I'm going to use some of my little tomatoes and just cut them in half and then drop them in my soup here. But I've got another idea. My other idea is I'm planning on having a barbecue tomorrow, and so I want to have a barbecue tasting bean. This won't give me a barbecue tasting bean. And so what I'm going to do, I pulled out some barbecue sauce from my refrigerator. And I have barbecue sauce that has onions and tomato and pepper and a lot of the spices and salt that I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan on putting this sauce in my beans to cook my beans and let them taste smoky with a barbecue taste. Beans are very versatile. You can put whatever you want, but these are what I would like for you to try. This one, or you can try it with the salsa choices from your fridge, or you can even put barbecue sauce in. So let me get my barbecue sauce in. We'll stir it up and we'll see how it goes. So I've finished chopping up my onion and my jalapeno, and now I'm going to put in my barbecue sauce. I've already put in quite a bit, so I'm going to be finished with that. And so now I have my preparation with all the spices in. I'm going to stir it up and see how it looks. There's my beans. I'm going to stir it up. Oh, it looks nice. It's going to be very nice when it's finished. Okay, great. So now it goes back on my stove. I'm going to turn it on and then we'll let it come to a boil. Let it come to a simmer, and as little bubbles of heat, as it comes to the simmer, then I'm going to turn it down a little bit and put the lid back on, and then let it cook for 2 hours. 2 hours. So after that, we'll see what it tastes like. We'll come back, make sure that it stays with the lid on, or it'll bubble all the water out. It'll boil all the water out, and you'll get burnt beans on the bottom. And trust me, you do not want to have to dig that out with a scraper and clean that. That would be a workout that you could write on your PE for Mr. Nita. That's how much hard work it is. You do not want to burn them. All right, so my beans are cooking and they are boiling. So now it's time for me to turn them down. Turn it to low, and I'm going to put my lid on. 2 hours later, let it cook, and we'll check it. We'll check it in every 30 minutes. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, and I'm going to check my soup. Well, it looks like it's not doing anything. It's not bubbling, it's not simmering. It is hot, and my stove is on, so I'm going to just turn it up just a pinch so that it can continue to simmer a little bit. I need to see a little bit of bubbles around here so that I know that it's working. So I'm going to stir it up a bit. Looks pretty good so far. Remember, I put in onion and a jalapeno and my barbecue sauce. Okay, and I'm gonna put it back up, and another 30 minutes. Okay, it is 30 more minutes, and taking my lid off to check my beans, and it looks like, let's put a little light on the subject, that they are cooking away. Look delicious. They look like they're doing well. And I'm going to cook them for another 30 minutes. Well, I've got my 30 minutes is up, and I've got my soup here, and it looks like it might be done, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to take a couple of it out, a little bit of it out, and put it on a bowl and see what it looks like. So I took these out just now, and I'm going to feel them and feel how firm they are or soft they are. Ooh, this is still really hard. This one is soft. Oh, that's a hard one. There's a soft one. They're not done. We're going to let it go another 30 minutes. Well, let's check our beans. I had the lid off just a little to let some moisture escape. And you can see the water level in my beans has gone down. And my beans now are very soupy. I'm going to turn them off. There we go. And you can see they are soupy. They're very soft on the side. They're very soft. I can feel them. And I'm going to test them one more time just to make sure. That they're all cook them softly. And cook them until they're soft. They're going to hurt your stomach. So beans need to be soft, and then they are done. So now it's your turn to make your beans using this recipe and your beans that you were given. Bon appetit!